We are back with more breaking updates on the escalating crisis in Korea. The zombie virus outbreak has now spread to major cities, including Seoul, Busan, and Daegu.
It was supposed to be the concert of a lifetime. Airi, a K-pop idol, the one who captured millions of hearts with her voice, was about to perform for her most loyal fans in a secret, private concert. The excitement in the air was electric. Fans whispered to each other, all eager to witness something truly special. But what they didn't know was that this night would be unlike anything they had ever imagined. The concert hall was dark. Except for the bright lights focused on the stage, Airi stepped out in a dazzling outfit, a vision of perfection. The crowd screamed with joy. She smiled, looking out at her fans, the people who had made her a star. Tonight, she would unveil a new song, one that was said to be her most personal, her most powerful. Music fades in. A haunting melody. Airi began to sing. The melody was soft at first, slow, but it soon grew in intensity. The crowd was enchanted, their eyes fixed on her every move. The song seemed to pull them deeper into a trance. The music had power, but no one knew just how dangerous that power was. But something was happening. Slowly at first, some fans started feeling strange. They stumbled, looking confused. Others collapsed, their bodies twitching violently. The air in the room seemed thick, almost suffocating. Some fans were screaming for help, but their voices were drowned out by the sound of Airi's song. And then, the change began. One by one, the fans who had fallen began to rise, but they weren't the same. Their eyes were wide and empty, their faces pale, their movements jerky, like something not human. The crowd that had once cheered for Airi now looked like an army of mindless, lifeless creatures. Airi's voice, the song, had become something more than music. It carried a deadly virus, a virus that spread through the air, infecting everyone who heard it. As the music played, the fans lost their willpower, their minds enslaved to the sound of her voice. The virus spread quickly, and Airi's influence grew stronger with every passing second. The concert hall, once filled with joy and excitement, turned into a nightmare. The infected didn't just remain in the hall. The virus spread faster than anyone could have imagined. News reports started flooding in from every corner of the city.
Thousands of citizens are reported to be infected, and hospitals are overwhelmed with patients showing aggressive and inhuman behavior. Government forces have been deployed across affected areas to establish quarantine zones and control the spread of the virus. Martial law has been declared, and citizens are being ordered to evacuate high-risk zones immediately.
People collapsing in the streets, turning into mindless zombies. They moved like puppets, following the sound of Airi's voice. Ji-hoon, a journalist and former fan of Airi, had been in the audience. He'd come to write an article about the concert, but now he was caught in the middle of a disaster. The once thriving city of Seoul had turned into a war zone, its streets filled with the infected, roaming the city, all under Airi's control. Ji-hoon tried to escape, but the infected were everywhere, attacking anyone they came across. It was chaos. The government tried to contain the virus, but it was too late. There was no stopping it now. The infected had become an army. But the question was, who was leading them? Ji-hoon learned something chilling as he tried to find shelter. The virus wasn't just making people zombies. It was connecting them, tying them to one person, Airi. Her voice, the one that had once brought millions of people joy, now controlled them like puppets. Every time she sang, the infected grew stronger, and more people fell under her spell. As the world seemed to fall apart, a small group of survivors gathered. They knew that to stop the infection, they had to stop Airi. But there was a problem. Aerie was no longer just a singer. She had become a powerful force, controlling the infected with her voice. It was no longer just a matter of killing zombies. It was a battle against someone they once admired, someone they used to love. Ji-hoon joined the survivors. He knew that stopping Aerie would be the only way to save what was left of humanity. But the hardest part was coming. To end the infection, they would have to silence her voice forever. But Ji-hoon couldn't help but remember the Aerie he used to know. The kind, passionate idol who had brought hope to millions with her music. Could he really do it? Could he kill the person who had once been the face of hope for so many? The team finally reached the heart of the infection, an old theater where Aerie had set up her base. It was here that she broadcasted her music, and her power over the infected had grown to unimaginable levels. Inside the theater, Ji-hoon saw her sitting on a throne, surrounded by her army of zombies. She was just as beautiful as she had been on stage, but her eyes were empty, her smile twisted. She was no longer the person he had admired. She was something else entirely, something monstrous. "Aerie," Ji-hoon whispered, his voice filled with grief. "This isn't you. You have to fight it. Please come back." Aerie's smile widened. "It's too late, Ji-hoon," she said coldly. "The song is too powerful now. You will listen. You will join me." She began to sing again.
Sing with me, let's break the sky. Feel the magic, don't question.
Her voice echoing through the theater. The infected moved closer, their eyes fixed on Ji-hoon. He could feel the pull of her voice, but he resisted. He couldn't give in. He wouldn't. With every ounce of strength he had left, Ji-hoon rushed forward. He reached for the amplifier that was broadcasting her voice. He threw it to the ground with all his might. The sound stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. The infected stopped moving. It seemed like the battle was over, but Ji-hoon knew it wasn't. The virus was still out there, and Aerie was still alive. To stop the infection once and for all, he had to make the hardest decision of his life. He turned to face her, his heart breaking. He knew what he had to do. With one final devastating choice, Ji-hoon ended the woman he once loved. He silenced her voice forever. The world was saved, but it came at a great cost. The city, once filled with life, was now a shadow of its former self. The infected were no more, but so was Aerie, the person who had once been the face of hope and joy. The sacrifice was painful. Ji-hoon lost the woman he loved, but in doing so, he saved the world. The question remains, what happens when the thing you love most becomes the very thing you must destroy?